If needlework is your passion, whether you're stitching by hand, machine, or mixing it all up, you're going to want to hear about the Mr. X Stitch Contemporary Needlework Prize 2025. This prize celebrates the best in modern stitch, and it's open to creatives from all around the world, whether you're a student or an emerging artist or a seasoned professional. And the best part, you don't have to send your work anywhere. Just upload high-resolution images to a private folder we will send you after you enter. You can enter more than one category, for instance, hand embroidery and 3D textiles. Just grab an entry for each one. And if you've got a student ID, you can get 50% off the entry price as well. The deadline for entering is 30th of June 2025, and entries are now open at xstitchmag.com/prize-entry. Thanks to our brilliant sponsors, Bookmarked Hub by Search Press and David and Charles, and the legends at Lowry Workstands. If you've got the stitch bug, this is your time. Show us what you've got. Enter the prize now. Visit xstitchmag.com/prize-entry to get your ticket today. Emma McKee, aka StitchGawd, is a Chicago-based artist who cross-stitches for hip-hop heroes and basketball legends. Her career has blown up in as much as she started cross-stitching relatively recently, but almost instantly hit the ground running, and through connections within the Chicago creative community. Before she knew it, she was cross-stitching for hip-hop artists like Chance the Rapper, SZA, and many, many more. This is the first part of our Needle Exchange, and basically it's me and Emma just talking around the houses. This was such a relaxed conversation that I had with Emma. It instantly felt like we've known each other for years. We've known each other for quite a while. We had an interview with her in the second issue of XChange magazine back in 2017. But we talk all around Emma's story. You know, there are so many parallels between the way she came into the world of cross-stitch and what happened with me. But obviously her trajectory has been very different, and she has had a lot of success. She's understood a lot about working within the corporate sector, doing commissioned work, that kind of artistic direction. And yet her integrity, her passion, her love of stitch and her love of Chicago and of music and of sport permeates through everything. She really is making the work she was here to do. I'm not going to tell you a lot about this conversation. All I'm going to say is it's a good old chinwag. We hit the ground running. It's just us talking about all kinds of things. It's a really great conversation. Obviously, we'll be back next week with the second part of the conversation where I dive into a few more touch points with her. But just a great chat. A lovely artist who's so honest and just really, she's gone through a path of starting out stitching, having these moments of like renown in the cross stitch community and making a wave within the music scene, and is now at a point where she's starting to pay that back and give her love back to Chicago as well. So this is just a great conversation. Emma's a legend. I literally could talk to her all day long. I'm gonna have to get her back on the show for some reason or other. I can just feel it. So I hope you enjoyed this show. If you do enjoy this show, share this with someone. If you know anybody who likes hip hop, b-ball, Chicago, anybody who likes that kind of thing, tell them about this episode, because if they don't know about Emma, they're going to want to know about her. I'll be back next week with the second part of the Needle Exchange. So for now, enjoy the show.
I love your background.
Thanks.
What are clearly threads. What are they?
Yeah, so they're paint box threads by Lovecrafts. They gave me a box of them a while ago. It's just, they're another kind of thread company, although Lovecrafts is quite a big craft website. So they got their own threads. And then I decided that, you need like a nice Insta-ready background, don't you?
No, it's so beautiful. I was going to say it's very appropriate.
It looks very pretty. And I've got this piece here, which is by Marlowe's Doika, which to me it's got like lace and machine embroidery and nipples and guns. So I feel like it's everything all in one. And then the main thing is you can't see what a complete carnage is underneath my desk or over there. I don't know if you can see. Can you see the little version of me?
Yes, I can.
There you go. No worse for me.
Well, it's complete carnage at my house. You can see the giant
Ah.
portrait of me, though.
Yeah, you've had that a long time, haven't you? How did that come about?
I have. Where did that come from?
Yeah.
Oh, I worked for a large-scale artist in Canada named Lori Dell, and she's done like large-scale portraiture for Anthony Hopkins and Uma Thurman and Javier Bardem and all these, and moi.
And the StitchGawd herself.
Yes, exactly.
Very
I
good.
helped her organize her back catalog, and she surprised me with it as a moving present when I came to Chicago. So,
Amazing.
you know, I play the game like, who else in Chicago do we think has a 6-foot oil painting of themselves? Like Oprah, Dwayne Wade.
Yeah. And you're like, it's actually her smallest work she's ever done.
Yeah,
she managed like
exactly.
Squeeze it down. How do you like I was talking to someone recently about like the artist Henry Moore who makes these massive sculptures.
Yes.
And you're just like, when is the point when you go, sod it, 8 foot high? Like, how do you do that?
No. I mean, like, I am obsessed with scale, so I understand that. Like, I've made now, I think my biggest cross-stitch piece is like 15 feet long, right. 15 feet by 6 feet. Mm-hmm. And like, that's not big enough for me. I want to, like, eventually in my career, I'd like to do 20, 30, 40, 50 feet cross stitches, you know?
Yeah, I can dig it. I was going to have a funny conversation with you actually, because I've seen you've done a few like chain link fence pieces, haven't you?
Yeah.
And I did one a few years ago at a show, and it said celebrate handmade on it. I did it over the course of a weekend. And what the main thing I learned, right, is that if you're doing something outside, it's really good if you can like move it. Because what happened with me was I was here and the sun was beating down on the right side of my face for 3 days solid, and I was wearing a cap. Which, so I just looked like some kind of checkerboard because, like, one half of my face really wasn't tanned.
Before and after.
Yeah, honestly. Have you had that?
Oh, yeah, no, I did. I have actually before. We've been really lucky, though. I mean, when we do those big fence installs, we usually have like 20, 50, 70 people come work on them with us, right? So you never really have. Yeah, the whole point of doing those is to engage the community with something that's like a low barrier to entry skill wise. Because embroidery, needlepoint, cross stitch can be quite. I mean, I think it's different for English people than American people. Americans don't know what this stuff is. The Brits, at least you guys have an understanding of what it is. People are like, oh my God, what is fiber arts over here? It's kind of crazy. So like the stitching or anything to do with fiber, people don't know that it's like an easy, accessible thing for them, that it can be like a community kind of, a point of community. And so, yeah, I'm never really in one place that long with a mural like that. I imagine if I did a huge fence piece by myself and I was out there for like 3 or 4 days, yes, but I would also be slathering 50 SPF sunscreen on my face repeatedly.
It's like the closest I've ever come to being like a street artist, because it doesn't sort of pan out. But
that's the whole thing. I mean, I started doing large scale pieces because I saw these male artists be like taken seriously and respected and all these things for this kind of outside, big, permanent, solid state street art. You know what I mean? And so I was like, I wonder how we take stitching and cross stitch into like a more solid state, so that maybe we take it out of this like craft realm and we can look at it as legitimate art. And like honestly, it wasn't a bad idea, because people do look at that stuff separately, right? Like I've done those the 10-foot head pieces. I don't know if you've seen them, but they're on wooden frames, and so they're quite heavy. And so people do take those fairly seriously. It's just interesting how that all works.
Is Chairman Fred the first one of those?
Yes, Chairman Fred is the first one. Very good.
That was a corker, that one was, wasn't it? Yeah. Yeah, and I mean,
thank you.
So this is the thing. So like, I mean, there's lots for us to talk about, but I was interested in like where you're at right now, because I have seen you doing a lot more like community stuff. You did that stuff with the Kenwood Academy not very long ago. Tell me about that, because that looked amazing.
Killing it. Well, part of my whole thing about like the communities I work in and being in Chicago, there are a lot of artists who come in to cities like this and use the narratives and stories, and then that's just kind of it. You know what I mean? And so for me, it's very, I feel like if I'm going to be like a community leader, or if I'm going to be in these spaces representing these people, telling these stories, then it behooves me to reinvest into that community, right? And I feel like the easiest way to reinvest in communities, or the highest return on investment without a huge amount of skill, is working with kids. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is working with teenagers specifically. And it's not even so much about teaching them to stitch or teaching them to make clothing or whatever, but it is about teaching them that they can imagine something and then manifest it and make it and pull it through the veil and have it be their own, and that they have the power to do that, and they have everything inside them to be able to do that already. I feel like that is quite a powerful thing to teach a young person. And especially when you're giving them like really intensive access to you, right? Like, that Kenwood program, there were 10 kids, and I told the kids at the beginning, you'll get out of this what you put into it, and I am here to consult for you. Like, I am your resource. You will get out of this what you put into it, and please, use me thusly. And it's really incredible to see what a kid. I mean, half these kids had never done any fashion anything, had never done any stitching, never upcycled, nothing like that, and they all did like amazing work. It doesn't take very much to show a child how capable they are, but it is really necessary that we do that. I mean, especially in America, you guys don't have this problem as much as we do, but arts funding is like the first thing that goes, and the arts is where we teach people how to feel things and how to be human and how to connect. And so when we're taking those opportunities away from children, especially the ones that need it the most, what are we even doing,
Yeah.
So I feel like, the community stuff is really important to me. I've always done it, but I am now in a part of my career where I'm trying to figure out how to do it more sustainably, how to do it on a bigger scale, how to make sure that it is continuously part of my practice. So what you're seeing is like an evolution, right? It's just me learning and evolving.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, I've done various workshops of various age groups. What I found is so there's two things. One, I've done workshops with school kids who've been like, 11, 12, 13 years of old, kind of Larry teenagers just being themselves. And then you teach them to do a bit of cross stitch, you get them over the hump. And then actually after about half an hour, they're all dead silent, just doing their thing,
Well,
just in the zone.
Well, it's like we forget. I mean, analog activities are good for us, and we don't have. And there's so much on screens. There's so much on social media that like taking, with when you're embroidering, you can't be fiddling about with other things. You really do have to just like lock in, focus, and it is so meditative. That is what everybody tells me about those big fence installs. They call them, when we do them, they call them art therapy. Because people just get to come and do something that resets their nervous system, that, it's easy. They just do it over and over again. It's a repetitive motion. It can be really, really therapeutic.
Yeah.
I mean, that's basically why I started, is because it was therapy for my super hectic brain.
Yeah. Well, if I've said it once, I've said it 100 times, that like when you meditate, if your thoughts wander, you're supposed to come back to center. And every time you put the needle through the fabric, you're back at center. So you're averaging that like 2 times a second or whatever. So it is the like ultimate pulling you back into the middle all the time.
Wow. That's beautiful. I'd never really thought about it that way, but that's a very good way of putting it.
Yeah, because you just always focus in and you let your mind wander. And that's why it's always quite cool what goes on at the back of your head. But you're always in the present moment for that.
Okay, so let me ask you, while you're stitching, what's your poison? You an ebook man, you podcast, you music, what is it?
It very much depends. I think most of the time, if I'm cross stitching, I'm probably going to watch shit telly, because that's just the easiest thing to do. Nothing to really. I've been watching Is It Cake? I've watched quite a bit of that lately. Programs, Is It Cake? It's on Netflix. It's where they make like hyper realistic cakes, and people have to guess whether the thing's cake or not.
Cake? I thought you said, is it Kate?
Oh no, yeah, that's the one where
is this a royal controversy?
Yeah. That's the one. That's the one with the Princess of Wales. Stands next to a load of people that look like her, and you have to guess which one's. No, is it cake? which is much better. Or like,
to be fair, I'd watch either, I think.
yeah. Now that I've said it, I might pitch that to Netflix. That's a pretty good idea. Or things like any of those kind of things. You know, do you ever seen Ink Master?
Yes.
Yeah, you see, no, not many people have seen Ink Master, but I'll watch that.
Really?
Yeah, and it's quite good in a way. I mean, I usually by the end of it want to go and get a tattoo, and then I stop watching it for a little while, and it kind of fades back out. Do you not? Have you ever seen
No,
Ink Master Redemption, where like people that got such bad tattoos come back?
Oh, see now that I would really love.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, no, I call it television, like frozen yogurt television. It just cascades over the folds of my brain.
Yeah,
Doesn't require too much of me, and nothing I ever have to rewind if I've missed a plot point.
Yeah, nothing with subtitles. If I have music, I usually find it's quite hard to get the pace of the music to match the pace of my stitching. The last thing you want to do, I used to be into drum and bass, and that's just incoherent as far as cross stitch goes, you know, because it's just too fast. You just can't cope with it.
What a life!
Yeah, honestly, I was such a badass.
So what crossover was there with drum and bass Jamie and Mr. XChange Jamie? How far did that go? Were you out at the raves and then coming home to stitch?
Oh no, you see, I've never been. I did a little bit of raving when I was in university, but what I've realized now as being a dad is I was always a dad dancer. I just wasn't the dad bit. So me and raving and misbehaving and stuff, I can't really talk to publicly, but I used to really enjoy drum and bass, A, for driving a little bit faster than I was supposed to, but mostly for just really smashing through the emails. That's how exciting it is.
I can just see you stitching. Furiously.
Yes, oh my God.
Exactly.
Yeah, so whereas now I'm a bit more kind of, I don't know. I was going to ask you about Kay Trinada. Now that's my kind of arena, and I know that you've met him.
Trinada.
I know you met him. I know you did a thing for him.
He's the best. His tiny, adorable dog tried to take a wee on my shoe. That was like you know, it's so funny, you know, you meet these people and like he was lovely and there should be other things that stick out in my head about that evening. The jacket that I made him and the set that he played and how lovely he was and our exchange. But what I really remember the most is his little dog trying to pee on my shoes.
That anecdote, that's a great anecdote. What was the other thing? I was going to say, just going back to teaching, the other thing that I find interesting, and I think it's what you were saying, like what I love about teaching cross stitch is it's so simple. You go like that, repeat.
Yeah.
So half of the time when you're teaching, it's like trying to get people to get out of their own way just to relax into it because they think it should be harder than it is. And you're like, honestly, it really isn't. You're paying me a lot of money to teach you something ridiculously simple.
Well, I tell people, there's two things that I notice. I tell people at the beginning of my classes, I was like, I don't want you to feel insulted by this. I was like, but they teach cross stitch to little kids in England. This is a thing that they teach little children. So like, it's not rocket science. If, you know, little British children can do it, I am positive that you can do it. And I'll say on the flip side of that, don't be embarrassed if it's hard. It really is just about getting a rhythm. It's about learning one thing. And when you learn the one thing, you'll be off to the races.
Yeah.
And then the piece that you just said where, you know, people standing in their own way is so interesting. You know, I have men in my classes, but it is primarily women that I work with. Mm-hmm. And the thing that I notice about them is off the rip, women will think that they've done something wrong immediately.
Right. Yeah.
When they haven't done anything. I mean, I don't know if that's a British thing. I don't know if that's a woman thing. I don't know if it's an American woman thing. But it is something interesting that I've noticed. People will be doing the exact right thing or doing a version of the right thing, whatever that means to them, and they'll just assume that it's wrong.
Yeah.
And that has been a crazy learning in these classes. I'm like, no. Everything you're doing is great. We have, you know, we believe in ourselves a little bit more than this. I have to think, but I was shocked by that. You're right. It's mostly people getting, you know, it's a mental thing. Like, oh, I can't possibly do this. It's too hard. It's not true.
And I find that sometimes as well, there's been times when people have been really struggling. Like you say, just the fear of the unknown, just the uncertainty of whether the technique should be more complex than it is. And it really isn't. So then when they're in the zone, you have to come back to them and you have to just go, look, see, you know, we did it. It's almost like it's more of a therapy session. The cross stitch is almost secondary. It's more like just overcoming the boundary. I once did it's called a PGL holiday. When I was a kid, it was an adventure holiday, and there were loads of those sorts of things you had to do, like pony trekking, going on zip wires, abseiling, all this kind of stuff that scares the crap out of you when you're an 11-year-old. And I remember, like, there was this one that was the one for me, was standing on 2 canoes with one leg in each canoe, and you had to stand up and sing a song, and I was in tears because I was so scared of it. And then afterwards I got through it and it was all fine. And it's all a version of that, isn't it? You just have to go.
Yeah.
But what's so great is it's a super safe version. No one ever blew their own head off doing some cross stitch.
Or fell in a lake.
Yeah, honestly, or shit themselves in front of a bunch of kids they know. So just on a cross stitch, it's all kind of fine, you know. But it's just like
much safer environs.
Yeah. The other thing I like to do, and it's a little bit comedy, but I feel like you and I would teach very similar workshops here, it has to be said, is what I like to do is, if I say to people, if you've never stitched before, I just want you to stop and take a moment and just look at the world around you. Take it all in, notice all the small differences, because the world's about to change forever.
You'll never be the same.
Yeah, honestly, that's it. You're about to level up. It's just like, enjoy this now.
What's so nice is that, I have like new stitchers from my classes, which I just love. I love it when people come back. I love it when people tag me in their finished works. And then the other thing I didn't really realize I was doing when I was teaching these courses is I have now like amassed a small army of people who stitch like me.
Okay.
Because my stitching technique is, now I have to show you. My stitching is a little different than most. Like these little workshops that I do.
First of all, like I was going to say, first of all, God damn it. Like, I've often tried to go, what's a really cool design that I can do, or what's a thing I can do? And for me, I'm very like text-based whenever I do things. So I just have phrases or whatever. And then I've seen you and you're just like Air Jordans, you're just like high tops. I'm just like, oh God, she's done the really cool thing. Can't believe it.
Well, so I when I'm
Can
doing,
you describe
like, my
that
big
to the
pieces,
listeners, by the way?
What this looks like?
Yeah. For the people listening.
So this is what I'm holding up and showing is a shoe that we made in one of my stitch workshops. It is on an acrylic sheet that has been pre-drilled. So this is stitched, so you can't really tell, but there's a bunch of little holes in this acrylic piece. And then what we've done is we've stitched this. This is a Nike skateboard shoe. It's a Dunk High. But yeah, so it's about, I was going to give you some measurements, but we don't even use the same measurements over here.
How many fathoms is it? I think that's how we measure things over here.
Right, exactly. Celsius or Fahrenheit. But,
what is that? It's about a foot long, isn't it? How long is that? 10 inches?
I think this is probably 8 inches.
It's so cool. It's so annoying.
But that's how when somebody does something really good, I'm like, oh, it's just awful how talented you are. I can't take it. But this is basically just like a smaller version of my big pieces. When I do a big piece, I will like use a CNC machine and pre-cut out the holes of the pattern. And so now I've taught all these people to do it like I do it. And so when I have had, since I've started doing these workshops, I've had projects and bigger projects where I can then call in the people who have been in my workshops to help me work on these projects because they know how to stitch like I do.
Are they called stitch demigods?
I'll have to ask them. They don't have a name, but now they need one.
That's so good. How long did it take? So I'm just trying to think. First time I clocked your cross stitch on Instagram was 2013. This is when
right when I started.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So you did that, and that was a piece, Wu-Tang Clan, cream, cash rules, everything around me, booyah. And then obviously things took off quite quickly. But the StitchGawd name, because there was a picture you did as well where you were just like feeling it out. You were like doing some text, and you were like, what do people think about this name or whatever? How long did it take for the name? Someone mentioned it offhand, didn't they?
Yeah, well, so it was, this is a crazy universe thing, you know, like the first piece of press I ever had was in a magazine called The Fader, which do you guys have The Fader over there?
No, it's a big deal.
big hip hop magazine. And so the Fader came and interviewed me, and the woman was like, well, it's like you're the StitchGawd, and put that in print. And so, I imagine Chicago's like lots of other cities wherein you can get quite big in your city and it is less impressive than when you go somewhere else. And you know what I mean? So if I'm in a national paper, if I'm doing something international, that's much more impressive to the Chicagoans than anything here. So of course, my first piece of press, and this is before any news outlet in Chicago has picked me up for anything. It's quite early on, honestly. They call me the StitchGawd, and so people in Chicago saw that, and that's what it was. I mean, I didn't lean into it. It was quite intimidating to me, and I also didn't consider. I think this is like a thing that artists do early in careers. I don't know, maybe women artists, maybe it's like a self-esteem thing when we're young. I don't know, but I wouldn't call myself an artist. I was like, oh no, that's much too big and grand a title. I can't have that. And just because I didn't feel like worthy of it or whatever. So the StitchGawd thing was funny because I wouldn't change my social handles to it. My handles before StitchGawd were, all of them were Emma McKee, which is my whole name. And so I was very hesitant to call myself StitchGawd. I was like, oof, that's an awfully big name. I don't know about that. But it didn't really matter how I felt about it. It doesn't really matter how I feel about it now. I'm stitched to most people,
Yeah.
Not even Emma.
So let's do the origin story then, because we've bounced around a little bit, but let's try and ground ourselves with some chronology. You woke up, you did some stitching, Chance the Rapper saw it, and the rest is history. I mean, that's the very potted version. Can you expand on that?
Yes. So I was kicked out of Canada, came to Chicago right around the time that all this big stuff with Chance the Rapper was happening. I mean, it wasn't happening yet. I moved here and Chance was performing like high school cafeterias and open mic things, but I saw him and the group of artists that were kind of coming up around the same time, and I was like, this is the kind of talent that's in Chicago. This is very different. There's something very different here. I need to see what's going on. And so then that in tandem, I started stitching, but I felt like the stitching thing, I was like, who does this? This is so weird. Who stitches about hip hop? I mean, cross stitching is this like British thing, and my mom and my aunts and, everybody does that. Who is stitching about rap? Everybody's going to think that I'm so lame or that I'm like a try hard or something. So I literally kept it to myself. It was like a secret. And I had stitched this piece of Chance the Rapper, like some single artwork from Chance the Rapper, and I kept it folded up in my little like travel bag. And I would show people in person. And I remember showing his parents at a rap show once. And everybody's kind of like, what is this? So people had never seen it before. They were fascinated by it. And so I got invited to do a show, I think. And so I had made a bunch of little pieces. When I was first starting to cross-stitch, I was just cross-stitching other people's art because I was learning how to do it, you know? So a lot of it is very derivative. I think that artists also do that first when they're learning something.
Yeah.
They'll copy other things. So I was making like Basquiat pieces and Hebrew Brantley pieces. And I was basically just making the artwork of artists that I really respect that I couldn't get my hands on. Yeah. So, and then people started seeing it, and I did this show. I pulled a vintage jacket. I stitched a 3 on the back, and I put it on Twitter. And Chance DM'd me, and he was like, "How can I get this jacket?" And I was like, "I will figure it out for you." And so I met up with his wardrobe person. Again, Chicago is very, like any industry city, it can be quite small. And so she pulled the jacket for a rack for him for a cover shoot for Billboard. No big deal.
Yeah, right.
And he apparently, like just something slight, And so he went to the rack, saw it, put it on. It fit like a glove, which is crazy. I didn't have a size for him. The jacket didn't have any sizing in it because it's vintage. And he slipped it on like a glove, and apparently it fit him like a glove. And apparently he started moonwalking around, so he was pleased with it. And then it ended up on the cover of this Billboard magazine, like. I have a little credit in this Billboard magazine where he was wearing the thing on the cover, and he just wore that thing everywhere. And he got enormous so fast. So he's like, he was around all these TDE people. TDE is, Kendrick Lamar isn't TDE anymore, but TDE is Top Dog Entertainment. That's his Kendrick Lamar, all those guys, Isaiah Rashad. And so I guess he had been wearing it around them. And so I got asked by them,
Right.
could you make stuff for us? Oh, you're the jacket girl. You made that jacket for Chance. Can you make stuff for us? I mean, that's basically the what I was getting in the beginning of my career. It wasn't StitchGawd. It wasn't Emma. It was like, oh, you're the girl who makes the jackets. And so then Chance got all this feedback from it. And then he asked me to make stuff for his tour. So then he's wearing my stuff every night in every major city in America.
Wow.
What are the odds?
Yeah. You know, sometimes you're just like, I think the universe likes what I'm doing here.
Well, yeah, and then you had all these people in music and hip hop asking me for cross-stitch jackets. And I was like, well, if the rappers are demanding jackets, I suppose we will have to get that going. I mean, that's really the thought I had to myself, because at this point I had only made a couple things, and I was like, well, if people are like demanding it like this, then I think that I should probably figure it out and do it.
Mm-hmm.
But what people don't realize, I don't think, is that those first pieces for Chance were like some of my first pieces ever.
Yeah.
That I ever, you know what I mean?
There's no 10,000 hours behind this, is there? Yeah.
Right. No. Well, there probably is now. It's been 10 years.
Yeah.
But in the beginning, and that has been the stressful thing about all of it, is that everybody has watched me learn. You know, my first pieces were in huge magazines and on huge stages, no pressure. And it's been that way for 10 years. Everybody sees me learning. I'm learning in real time on different projects for massive brands, celebrities, whatever. It's just, I feel very lucky that I have not stumbled too hard, you know?
Yeah. No, it's been, the thing is, it's genuinely been incredible. Were you like involved in music journalism around that time? Was that, I mean, did that, because I'll talk about Chicago in a bit, but I think that's obviously, that provided a bit of grease to get into those situations, right? This wasn't like complete, like unfamiliar.
Oh, I mean, it was a little bit. So I did a ton of music journalism stuff in Toronto.
Okay.
And then when I got kicked out of Canada and had to go to the States, that's a blog that I had been writing for asked me to go cover a bunch of events. It was like my first couple months of living there. So a Toronto blog had advertising spend with Red Bull. Red Bull did all these DJ events. And so I was going to all, and do you know how hard it is to write long form about multiple DJ sets? It is a crazy thing. But so I was going to these venues and making friends with the promoters, the doormen, people recognized me in venues in the city. And it also meant that I wasn't afraid to go places by myself. I went places by myself all the time. Mm-hmm. It's much easier to get yourself into, backstage when you're interviewing and things. It's just much easier to do all that stuff when you're by yourself. And I was quite happy to do that. And so, yeah, I was in some of the right places for sure. I also think the journalism bit helped. And then I started doing some interviewing and some writing for a local Chicago blog. And that definitely helped get me acquainted with the scene. The scene is set. I understand the basic music landscape of this city because now I'm like, that is my first introduction, is interviewing people and working in it. So there was that it made me quite comfortable to move around in these settings. I would say that it did. I mean, and I also worked a corporate job where I did live event ticket sales.
Right.
So where the Bulls play, the United Center. The United Center was my client when we were doing we're putting ticket deals together. And now they're my client, but just for cross stitching. So there was a lot of, I've always worked in music, entertainment. There's always been a lot of crossover. Do
you think that helped you get over the potential for being kind of starstruck? And I know that you have been, and you deserve to be. You did that jacket. Who did you do the jacket with? The tall guy. No, that doesn't narrow it down, does it? Hang on, I'll come back.
So many tall men.
Yeah, right. Well done there, Jamie. This is about the basketball. They're all tall. Hang on. Give me 2 seconds.
I don't really get starstruck anymore, but I did recently have a moment where I was starstruck and I was not expecting it. And it was with a Brit, actually.
Oh, go on. Is it me?
Yeah, so you're gonna laugh at me. Everybody will laugh at me. This is fine. I'm a Peloton girl,
Okay.
and I love my British instructors. My British instructors are my favorite ones. I use them all the time. So there's one girl. Her name is Hannah Frankson. She is from, I want to say she's from Romford. She lives in
Okay.
England.
Yeah.
She lives in London now, and she came to visit Chicago, and I came to see her because I've been training with her for. She doesn't know me, but I know her, and I was totally starstruck. Like, my heart started thumping, and I started sweating a little bit, and I was like, what?
That's just conditioned responses there. That's Pavlov's dog. You
Right,
see that
right,
woman, you start
right.
sweating, your
And I
heart
started
starts
sweating.
beating.
Well, it was the craziest thing. I was like, I'm so sorry. I don't know what's happening to me right now. And in my head, I was like, Emma, you have been around so many famous people, and I have never had that happen to me.
Yeah. That's funny.
But I was just like, hello.
Because it's a weird one, isn't it? I've got hang on, let me get this right. My wife's cousin's husband has an events management company, and he's done events for most of the big bands in some form or another. And it's that trade-off of going, you have to be a professional, but at the same time being like, oh man, I'm having a cool moment.
So cool.
I was thinking, because you did that video that's on YouTube of the Zach Levine jacket. And that one,
tall
you can,
chap.
there you go, the tall guy, the only one. But no, you can tell in that you're like thrilled with it all. It's at the end of a big project and all those kind of things. So you must love those moments.
Oh my gosh. Well, when I get to like the Zach Levine piece, I mean, that whole project just in general, I mean, the Bulls are one of the biggest, well-known sports team. I mean, you can go whenever I come to England. I was in Lewis a couple months ago, and I saw somebody walking around, a young man with a Zach Levine windbreaker on, and I was like, even here in the bonfire town, like
Yeah.
we have the Bulls fans. I mean, for me, that's just like dream stuff. When I first moved to Chicago, I didn't have any friends, I didn't know anybody, but I did take myself off to a Chicago Bulls game and sat in the nosebleeds and just fell madly in love with the team, and they were part of what helped me fall in love with the city of Chicago. And so to even be in those facilities, like I love behind the scenes stuff. Like, give me the documentary that shows me how everything was filmed. I want to know about the costume people. I want to know all that. So when I get to go work with the Bulls, and I get to walk through the player tunnels, and I get to see the locker rooms, and I get to be on the floor, and I get to be talking to the point guard, like, what?
Did you shoot any baskets?
Did
you get to throw any?
I'm not, I love basketball, but like you see these,
Oh yeah, that would be a bad
so
idea,
much
wouldn't
like
it?
a hooper as a fan. But it's just like when I took my dad to a Bulls game during all of that stuff, he walked through the players' entrance onto the court, and he goes, "Cross Stitch brought us here," and I was like, "Yeah, isn't that wild? Yeah, Cross Stitch brought us here." And so the whole time with Zach Levine, that's kind of what was on my head and heart, is just like, wow, this is like a dream scenario. This is a dream that you have been like wanting, working with the Bulls. It's just like, it's instant legitimacy, legitimizes the craft, allows me into a space where not very, women in professional sports, first of all, but then like embroiderers, to be welcomed into that space, and to be and to feel like respected, or no, I just felt a lot of respect from them. You know what I mean? Like, they treated me so beautifully and so carefully, and they were so intentional about the storytelling, and they just like, they love the Bulls as much as I love the Bulls. And so, like, to be in that scenario is kind of like the dream. Even working with them again this year, I would get on calls and people were like, "Oh, we were here when you did the Zach Levine stuff. We wanted to work with you. It just looked like so much fun." And it is. We just have a gas. Like, what is this life? For our jobs, we get to do this? That's unreal.
Yeah, I sometimes,
Yeah.
so obviously, you're in England recently. There's an entire chance you might have gone to like a charity shop and seen a little cross stitch that's been left behind somewhere. And it's so funny. Like, I've had situations where I'm like, for some people, this is the naffest thing in the world. And yet you turn it 1 degree in a slight direction, and you're doing stuff with NBA players and rappers. You know what I mean? It's like, it's bonkers how it can instantly become like the coolest thing in the world.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, what other medium dictates content the way that cross stitch does?
Mm,
Like, why is it in our head that cross stitch has to be cherubs, Bible versus flower? I mean,
mm.
like, don't get me wrong.
There's a
I
time and a
love the
place, isn't
history of
there?
my craft, and
Mm.
I love that stuff. And when I go into a charity shop and I see an abandoned little cross stitch, like I'll bring it home. You know what I mean? I love other people. Well, because it's just how much it is a women's it has traditionally been a women's craft, and so the kind of things that go into that.
Mm,
You don't make a piece like that unless it is really, you must love somebody, something, to really do that, because it is a labor.
mm.
And so I really appreciate that stuff. um but yeah, you don't meet a painter and go, oh well, you must paint trees like
Yeah,
Matisse.
yeah,
But
yeah.
yet you meet a cross stitcher and it's like, oh, you must do like nativity stockings. Which, shout out to my mom, she does the most beautiful nativity stockings. But
Mm.
that's kind of the ethos, and it's like, why does it have to be like that? It doesn't. The medium doesn't need to dictate the content at all. We just assume that because it's cross stitch, it's going to be XYZ. But why? Why do we assume that?
And then you've had this really fortunate situation, I would say, in that for some people, when they decide to elevate from like a hobby to an art form and put themselves out as an artist, they run into that thing, oh, that's textile art. But
Mm-hmm.
because you've taken yours in such a left field context, everyone's just gone, oh my God, like 100% of the time. Like, you've never really had to fight through those barriers because everyone's just gone, oh my God.
Well, no, I just go, accept this.
Yeah. And that's what it takes, isn't it?
No, that is what it is. Like, I've never presented it as anything else but like, this is what it is. This is what I make. No, you've never seen it before. Like, no, you can't get it anywhere else. And if you can't get me, then you just won't have it.
Yeah. And I mean, I think because this is the same thing with me. Like, Mr. X Stitch, Kingpin of contemporary embroidery, talks a lot more like that when he's pretending to be something. But sometimes you need the showbiz, don't you? Sometimes you need the showbiz because it gives permission for people to accept it without, like, I don't know,
Yes.
falling into those old tropes or whatever.
Yeah, no, exactly. And then having it be in a place like the NBA, you know what I mean?
Mm.
That just, it takes it immediately out of craft, and it's like, this is sport. This is billion-dollar industry. Like, yeah, I mean, so there's many layers to the reasons why I was thrilled about the Bulls project, but it helps do that.
Mm.
When you're putting cross stitch on people like Chief Keef,
Mm.
and Bulls players and things, there isn't even the room to ask if that's a legitimate thing,
Yeah.
because it's here already.
Yeah, it's bonkers. Who was I going to say? Benji Wilson.
Oh, Ben Wilson, you're really good for these interviews. You really do your reading.
Thank you. I try.
You're very welcome. What would you like to know about Benji?
Tell me about how, if you can, because I think it's really
Yeah.
interesting. And I've done an interview with Danielle Clough, fiance Knowles.
Yes.
Actually, his first one comes out on Monday, second part next week. And she's
Oh,
done a bunch
cool.
of work with people like Adidas and stuff like that. And getting into the
He's
realms
amazing.
of doing like the corporate stuff is just such like an unknown thing. But you've kind of nailed it. And it would be interesting if you're able to shed light on that, because that was a corporate gig, right?
Benji?
Yeah.
No, Ben Wilson that was a personal piece.
Okay,
But, like,
complete
I've done
fail on
lots
my
of
interviewing
corporate-
technique there in that case then. Scratch that.
No, but I'm fascinated with this question. I love Danielle. I think she's so talented.
Yeah,
Oh,
and so lovely. It's super annoying. Again, like yourself, talented and nice. You're like, oh, for Pete's sake.
Couldn't she just be awful?
Yes, just be a real bitch, just so that I've got that, for God's sake. No, but let's talk about, so you've done, because I know you've done stuff with Adidas, you've done stuff with Budweiser. I think, did you do something with Coke? You've done something like, how do you go about it? I've got an idea. Does a brand comes to you somewhat, right?
Well, so this is the amazing thing about that is, brands come to me all the time. But they always ask me for, I mean, the range of what I get asked for is bananas. But the nice thing is, because of all the work that basically, when I was learning how to do it, I was stitching things for rappers. And that's just, it's like a big, and so when brands come to me, they kind of trust me to do my thing, that's kind of the whole thing, they'll kind of give me the brief. And because I go so many different ways with my artwork, you know, whether it be like solid state or the cross stitching or fabric sculpture or whatever it is, you know, I just fit myself around a creative brief. And then I basically tell them what it is that I am doing. Every now and again, I'll have someone I had someone reach out from, I want to say like ABC, and they wanted this like very specific cross stitch for a television show. And that was harder for me because it wasn't interpretive and I wasn't getting to play with branding. It was just, we need these people stitched. And I was, and I kind of went back to them and I was like, well, I would never make the art look like this. Like if it were just my piece, I'd do X, Y, Z, whatever. And so they wouldn't let me do that. And the piece didn't end up actually working out. So, I mean, I don't know. What does that
No.
tell me?
That's artistic integrity, and I recognise that. And the thing is, I would say in that kind of situation, you go, well, I know a bunch of people that will do just whatever. It's like having model stitches rather than kind of doing it yourself. Yeah.
So they kind of let me do my own thing, but then I'm also floored at the things that people ask me to do, and then beyond that, I'm floored that they believe in my ability to do something that they've never seen me do. I feel like that is almost every corporate project. Every time someone comes to me with something different, I'm always kind of shocked that oh yeah, Emma can do that. Never seen me do it before, but you're probably not wrong. I probably am going to do it. Even with the WNBA jackets that we did 2 years ago, we had 6 weeks to make 25 customs for, the best basketball players in the world. And I usually make 4 jackets a year.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So we had to do 25 in 5-6 weeks. No one's ever seen me do that before, but they had just total trust that I could, for better, for worse. I mean, and I did, and it was great. They said it was the first time they've ever gifted that many women WNBA players and not had an issue.
Wow.
With they said it's the first time that had ever happened. And so it's a little bit like, I don't really know where it comes from, but I think that my work gets seen enough that people are like, oh yeah, Emma could do that.
And when you're working with a brand, how do you qualify the laws of time and money? How do you?
God.
Yeah.
That is the hard. Like I have problems with it still, know. And I think part of it is like women not really valuing their work in the first place, but then also the added complicated layer of how much labor goes into embroidery and how cheaply people expect it. Like that is just because you can get an embroidered top for, $20 doesn't mean that, you can get if I were making that embroidered top, it would cost you so much money because of how much time it was going into it. People just don't think about fiber arts or stitching. I feel like there's this inherent like value gap. People are like, oh, Granny did it, so, it can't be worth that much. So what I find myself doing is, I underprice myself a lot, less than I used to. But it is it's an ever changing thing, and it is an ever growing, practice. I have never seen anybody in the space that I'm in before, so I don't have.
Doesn't help, does it?
You know what I mean? So I don't really have like a path to go.
I'll hook you up with Danielle, and you can trade notes.
Right. I mean, there's just it's just not that many in the field, and then also some of the reactions that I get for when people ask me to embroider stuff, and I'll tell them how much I cost, and they clutch their pearls, and I'm like, well, I'm very sorry. This stuff takes a long time, and I have big girl bills. Like it's it's really real out here, and this is what I do with my life. So yeah, it is it's just a hard thing. Some people.
Do you think the secret is to just hold your nerve? Do you think if you're going to don't shoot yourself in the foot because you might not get every gig, but you might get a gig that's totally worth it?
And I have had many situations where I've just had to, I say no all the time.
Right.
I have to. I mean, and beyond people not wanting to pay me reasonably, but I say no because there's a lot of yucky corporate stuff out here that I want nothing to do with.
Thanks for joining me on another Needle Exchange. I hope you enjoyed the show. I'd love to hear from you, so feel free to email hello@needle.exchange, that's NEEDL.exchange, with any thoughts, comments or feedback. And if you want to keep up with all the news, sign up to the Needle Exchange mailing list at bit.ly/NeedleExchange. See you next time.